Okay, good morning, guys. It's 26th of April 2018. It's Thursday, and this is the DAX morning briefing. So welcome to guys that are viewing this on the video, and hello guys that are joining me this morning. Busy day today. There's the ECB release, and we're going to be doing lots of different recordings as well to go through all the different swing trading subjects that we talk about in the premium channel. So premium guys, come along and join that if you are available. All right, the trading disclaimer applies. The quick version is that trading financial markets is risky and involves the risk of losing your invested money. We're not providing financial advice here. If you do enter any trades off the back of any informational resources you find on the website, you'll need to do so entirely at your own risk. This is for educational purposes only. All right, so we're going to review the session from yesterday, and we're going to mark the swings out, which is always a good place to start. So get your swing marker tool and just simply mark them out like this. It's always good practice to do this. If you don't already, then you should. You'll notice that's our swing down. Yeah, from top to bottom. And then we have a reaction leg here. What I noticed about this particular reaction leg is that it didn't really test the previous swing. So it wasn't particularly significant. There was nothing really that interesting in there, but that completed the reaction leg. And the bit that was interesting is that this last swing back was broken here. You'll notice that little coil there, which is quite interesting. So it's just a bit of price action that's worth noting. And the other thing that's worth noting is that in the middle of a swing, you'll often find some sort of balance point. We've talked about balance points as zigzags for a while. It's only one type of balance point. There are many, many others. But if you take a tool to draw a 50% line through this particular swing, look where that line ends up there. Really, really interesting. So we like that. And then from this particular sort of pattern, this is bringing us up to date on this particular chart. We're going to start moving it along by the candle. You'll notice that we start forming this kind of unusual, it's kind of an expanding pivot type pattern. Got an MPL down here, multi-pivot line. And on the top side, you've got 2 points now to draw from. So we'll kind of extend that through, see what happens with that. That's often an opportunity to get long when it forms a multi-pivot line, but you can never really tell how it reacts. At this stage here, we start creating this mini coil around the top of this particular line, this expanding pivot line. You'd normally expect for it to retrace, unless it expands through, which it did in this case. And if it expands through, it's often going to use the top side of that line as support. And it did. Couldn't really make much progress. And we can probably expand that line through again, actually. It's just kind of keep it. And if it fails to hold price and contain it, it will often then break through and test it on the underside. And probably go for another go on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, probably have another go at testing the underside of it before it decides where it wants to go. And that line may well form as a center line now because it was previously resistance, then became support, and now is resistance again. So it may actually be some sort of center around another move, but we could maybe measure that another time. You'll notice it's still kind of acting as a line of interest through price action. So again, you can probably start marking out the swings as well as you go along with this, and you would just start down here. And the job of this particular swing that I've marked out here should have been a higher low, and price ideally with its next movement, which we topped out here, should have taken out that previous high. Failure to do that and then subsequent breakthrough this last swing indicates a zone where price has swapped. There is a change of behavior there. So you can probably mark that zone out, and I would probably mark out them. And you can do the same thing on the other way. Start marking this one out. Would I take these ones? Possibly. And again, you just continue to mark them out. And then we break through this zone. So you would then mark that guy out. and just see how price goes. So you can continue using these marking tools to find out where there's a change in behavior and mark out where that last swing was broken to see how price reacts with those. Another thing that looks interesting to me just at first glance, if you take a tool from here to there, there's another sort of mini zigzag in the middle there. Just an observation. But it's nice when you see those. Let's move that forward. I wonder as well whether, if you just see this little movement here, this is kind of a sine wave. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's kind of a zigzag if you like it, but it's more of a flowing sort of movement where it's like a sine wave. And it's got nice rhythm attached. So if you can draw a line through that one and that one, so in this example, it would be that one and that one. You can often see how price responds to that line. So it zooms through it here and tags it on the underside here. There's a little X marks the spot section there with the top side of this line. That was just an interesting little area. We'll continue to move that forward. See if anything happens around these swap zones that we've marked out. Price is contained within it at the moment here. Takes another dip into it here. And I think this is a previous zone that we've marked out from yesterday's session. You'll notice that we've got into that. Now, I'm not going to mark out the individual swings, but you can continue to see those yourself. So I'll just pick it up from, I don't know, here, for example. Confirmed lower, higher low. Created a new high here. And you'd have expected this low to have been confirmed when that took out this, but it didn't do so. So now we've got another area that we can probably mark out, which is in here. It gets a little bit busy when you continually draw all of these lines on the chart, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So you just delete the bits that you don't need just to clear out some room. A little bit of a mini clump here before taking that zone out and creating a new higher high. And this particular price action is horrible. It's very, very difficult to kind of see through this, as we've created this valley formation, which is often a good spot to try a sell, assuming that this particular zone is going to be defended. It was before, and you'd assume that it will happen again. But it's very, very interesting to watch how the previous swap zones still act as areas that call price action or call areas for price action to turn. So get into the habit of marking out your swings, watching for breaks, and then marking out where that break actually happened. Right, so for today, the one thing that was interesting for me was this particular chart. It's the 20-minute chart, and just again doing the same sort of work that you'd normally do on your swings. Just do the majors for now. Let's have a look here. Let's just fill out the gaps. Technically, you'd call it that one. So the three most recent pivots that you've got are there. Draw a very, very basic Andrews pitchfork on that, and it will give you, well, its actual one is really more of a Babson line, which is without the upper median line and the lower median line parallels. But it just provides you with an intersection. And the way you can draw this particular line that I've got set up here, the easy way, if you don't have a fork tool on your charting platform, just take a Fibonacci retracement tool from one peak to another, and it'll give you a 50% line. Okay, that's interesting on its own. And then you would take a line from that previous swing and just cut straight through that 50% line. That's how you would draw it. So a line directly from one to the other, and then an intersecting line through the 50% of that line. I like how we've got a zigzag in the middle of that as well, which is really interesting. And it's highly probable that price will go to react and touch that profit target, or sorry, that target line, which is actually a median line in this case. And the fork is very, very similar to that. It just simply adds the other two lines at the top and the bottom. Okay, so that would be the fork, which is just basically based on what we've done, which is that target line through the 50% line with the extra lines on the top. Okay. So I'm looking out for that, and that's somewhere in the 500 to 520 zone. How long it will take to get there, it's very, very difficult to say. But if this does form a sine wave, which is just, well, we've just briefly talked about that, then it would be somewhere forming in there. Or another way you can do that is to use this time tool, this time expansion tool, where you just draw it from one side of the swing into the next, and it will then create this projection of where price might look to form that particular completion, and it'll be somewhere there. So it's no point really predicting the market, but if we were to forecast where it's likely to happen, it would be somewhere around 1 o'clock. Let's see how accurate that is. Anyway, guys, that is what I wanted to run through for today. So as I say, I've got a busy day, lots of things to do today, so we're going to just crack on and get into that. The TPO is not really providing any additional information at the moment. We are currently trading within the value area, well, the profile of yesterday. We've already taken out the point of control from yesterday. We've got 2 exposed pockets to the upside here, we're just going to see how this forms. I expect with ECB later on today that price action is probably going to get a little bit more boring towards the late morning, early afternoon, and then there's going to be volatility as there usually is. But I can't really expect that there's going to be much interest because they've already hinted that July is the meeting that they're going to probably provide further guidance. All right, guys, have a great trading day. We're back in. It is Friday tomorrow, so we're back in tomorrow, and we will see you then. Take care.